All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe and Daniel, the Robert Nathaniel group. In this episode, the crew welcomes special guest Daniel Umstead. We cover topics that range from radio shows, credit repair, real estate, resume writing, motivation, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Walt Disney and Pablo Picasso. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Daniel, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you both setting this up for me, man. Love it.
Absolutely. All right, man, so we're just going to jump right into it. Episode 217. Thank you for traveling over here. For those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Sure. So I'll just run straight through. So my name is Daniel Umstead. I run my own radio show, RNG radio show, but I come with many hats. So I'm a realtor in Philadelphia, credit repair specialist. I also do some motivation, resume writing, and this time next year, you should be seeing me at one of the local law schools in Philadelphia. So
Nice. Very nice. I like that. A jack of all trades, huh?
Trying to be, man.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about the Robert Nathaniel group. How did that come about? What is it? What do you do? And is it all those things encompassed together? Let us know.
Yeah, sure. So it honestly started, I want to say the name itself actually came from my middle name and my son's middle name. My middle name is Robert. My son's middle name is Nathaniel. So I honestly just combined the two and ran with that because eventually I'm going to be passing it down to him, and then, he could do whatever he wants with the company, hopefully making it $1 trillion like Amazon and other companies out there. So, but the whole goal, similar to honestly what you guys are doing, is just helping others being better. Right now, my goal right now is to create 1 million millionaires through the radio show. So I'm just doing that by bringing guests on, same way you guys are doing. But in addition, talking about free credit repair tips, free real estate advice, free motivational advice, and free career tips to help you get a job. So everything is free when it comes to me, but definitely want to help others because there's a lot of free information out here, and some people think you got to pay to go on Google for whatever reason.
Sure. I love that. And so, there's a lot of, in the self-help industry or the inspirational industry, motivational, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of books out there for people to read. And a lot of times, and there's a lot of information on the websites, what have you. People get overwhelmed because there's so much information. And here we have yourself putting it all together, basically. Mm-hmm. And for free. And I wanted to highlight that because I myself, growing up, not knowing too much in specific areas, I would go buy a book, read a book, and then all of a sudden there was a new book the next day that I had to get with the latest and greatest information. Like, oh no. And then I'm jumping from website to website. I'm like, who do I believe? Yeah. Right. And then you get frustrated, and then you're inundated with information and you don't know what's the truth, and you have to sift through it. And then you have to apply all these little techniques and everything that they're telling you each one. And then you read a book that's on the same topic with contradictory, ideologies. And it's like, what? And it is it's the wild, wild west. Right. Oh yeah. So I love it, and I'm fascinated when someone can actually put things together, which is basically what I do as well. But it's so much more concise and usable, and I guess friendlier when you go out there. So instead of someone getting a headache, how can they come to you, when it comes to real estate, let's just say?
I'm very open book. I mean, the best thing to do is just honestly call or text me. My number is 267-702-3756. That's the best way to get in contact with me. Even if you're already dealing with a realtor, I don't have anybody sign anything until we're actually sitting down at the closing table. So if you got a question or something doesn't seem right, I do have a day job, so I'm not there yet as far as being a multimillionaire success, but check me out next year. Wink, wink. But yeah, the best thing to do, I'm an open book. People can follow me online. Honestly, I feel proud of myself, and I pride on this. If you just Google Daniel Umstead, Umstead, you will find me, and there are plenty of opportunities to reach out with any questions at all.
I love that. All right, so let's talk about credit repair, right? That is the one that I see all over the place. I see a lot of people, struggling with. I remember there was, right before my wife and I bought our house, I went to I guess it was like a seminar or something locally to kind of give us like the lowdown on what it's like to own a home. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things in that class was credit. Right. For most people, and all their questions was, all right, well, if I have X, Y, and Z credit, you think I'll get you think I can get this kind of loan? And it was like that portion of the class like took away from what I for the majority of what I was really there for. And I'm like, but I was astounded by how many. It was probably like 9 out of 10 people were asking about credit, and how they can better their credit so that they can become homeowners, or what should they do if they have jacked up credit, etc. So let's talk about credit repair.
Sure.
How did you even come around that?
Sure. So, a woman, she's actually VP now with the credit repair program I'm in, Melody Bazemore. I work with the credit repair program, but I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I give everybody free tips. The same thing that you could do in this credit repair program, folks can do on their own. The biggest thing folks should be doing right now is honestly drafting up credit dispute letters, Googling that, and then sending it out. It's not that much information. The only thing that you need to do is pull your credit report, and that is free. Through April 2021, you go to annualcreditreport.com, pull your credit report. If there's something on there that you don't like, or even if you're like, I think I paid this off, I'm pretty sure I paid this off, or maybe I am paying on it still now, dispute it. It's fine. The reason why folks get into the credit repair programs or go to seminars is because of the time. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to do this on my own. Now the program I'm in, they send us the letters, I sign them off, and then I mail them out. But folks, save yourself the money if you, because I hate when the people push you when they don't need to be pushed. Like there's programs out here, I'm not going to name anybody because I don't want any lawsuits, but there's programs out here that it's like, hey, sign up, it's $200, we'll cover this, and this. And it's like, and we got a fair price program, but you could do it on your own. But the biggest thing folks should be doing right now is fighting those items. Like I had 5 items removed. I've been in the program since May, and it took me until a month ago to actually take the time and sign off my dispute letters. Mind you, this is me. This is the agent himself, pushing everybody, hey, you need to get your credit fixed. Got to get your credit fixed. Yeah. And it's like, me months later actually finally doing it. And when I did it, I had 5 items removed. But it was nothing that they did special. It was nothing that I couldn't have done my own. It was just the time factor. So I think the best thing folks should do, go to Google, pull out your phone, your laptop, tablet, what have you, go to Google, look up sample credit dispute letters, type that up, and get them mailed off to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You could Google their addresses as well. Make sure you have a copy of your Social Security card and license for identification to send off, and that's it. And then you wait. Now, the only difference between programs is that, we got a team of attorneys that fight it if there's any dispute, but I didn't need an attorney. I didn't need any fancy schmancy company to back me up. The only thing I had to do was sign off, make a copy of my documents, send it out, and they had the 5 items removed. It took a couple of times for me to actually get the credit dispute letters out, from then actually realize it, but all in all, it's something that you can do on your own. You don't need to pay the money for.
Wow! So there you go. That's that's like a 1-2 punch. So if someone wanted to stop the recording right now and wanted to reach out to you specifically just about credit repair, how can they reach out to you?
Best way is the phone number, open book, 267-702-3756. You can call or text the number 24/7. Now 2 a.m. If you call or text, my girl's gonna kill you. But you can leave a message and I'll respond in the morning.
All right, so switching topics, I found out something very fascinating about you, right? You conducted over 100 interviews since May of this year, 2020, covering bakers, authors, fitness instructors, repair specialists, credit repair specialists, lawyers, real estate investors, Have you been able to create so much content in such a little time? It's fascinating.
I have 4 twin brothers. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
No, honestly, I'll tell you actually how it all started. And I got to shout out Black Owned New Jersey for this. What had happened was Black Owned New Jersey was a Facebook group. A friend of mine that's been knowing me since I was probably 7 years old reached out to me and said, hey, I think you might be interested in this group. You know, it's helping the African-American community. You could definitely grow with it. I was like, okay. So a woman on there actually put up and said, hey, I have a podcast. If anybody would like to be a guest, feel free to reach out. So I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, I got the stuff to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I would love to do a podcast. So yeah, let's make that happen. RNG radio show. Yeah, it's a nice twist. So I did it as a joke, Jimmylee.
Wow.
I did it as a joke, guys.
Wow.
Listen, Gabe, when I went on there and I put up the post, a week later, I had over 1,000 comments of people saying, I want to be on the show. Are you sure it's free advertising? I was like, yeah, I'm doing all the work. I just didn't know that I would get this many. So since then, that just has been the big rush. And then, of course, people sharing and all the like and just reaching out. But typically, I'll hold the interviews. Like I said, I'm working during the day, but I do get some free time. So typically running interviews for maybe like 15 to 20 minutes after work hours for about an hour, and then maybe during my lunchtime, but never ever during my work hours. I've never done interviews during my work hours. Just want to put that disclaimer out there.
So with all those kinds of interviews, I love to get into the minds of successful people. And you've interviewed a lawyer and you've interviewed a baker, right? 2 totally different professions. When it comes to mindset, has there been any common thread amongst your guests?
The drive. There's levels to the drive, but I always see the drive in people. Like a lot of the guests.
As in drive, explain drive.
Sure. So the drive is that I'll give you an example with the baker. Now the baker, she's unique baker because she's selling unique items that give you a unique feel after you've had it. So just leaving it at that. But her drive with that is that she's doing everything in her power to make sure that people see her product. She's doing everything in her power to make sure her name is out there. She's taken of every advantage opportunity. She's been out to food truck vending festivals. She's been out to seminars. She's done other interviews, including mine. So, and even the same with the lawyer. The lawyer has done the same thing in regards to pushing out there. Now, I will say this, and I love my fellas because we're all kings here, but the ladies are really, really stepping up their game. I've seen, not knocking the bros, but I've seen the ladies just knock it out of the ballpark when it comes to putting out there. I had somebody on my radio show when we started in June, and she had told me, like, I'm going to be doing a cookbook. And I'm like, all right, well, looking forward to it. She just released her cookbook. In addition, she's having another cookbook released in the spring. So the lawyer that I had on the show, she had said that she had a couple books coming out. She just released her book in addition. And it's, like I said, fellas, just follow the ladies. When you see the ladies doing the work, just copy and paste it to your own routine.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so when you get the guest on, are you seeing anything really spectacular about these folks, or are you seeing these are just average people, but they're hardworking, they know what they want, they're goal setters, and they go after it? Or is there something that completely sets them aside? Obviously, everyone's unique, but you know what I mean, that there's like uber talent, and then there's just regular hardworking people who will do whatever it takes.
It's crazy you should mention that. Honestly, they're regular people, but they do have something special about them.
Absolutely.
They are taking the time to click on the Calendly link that I sent them, filling out the form that I've asked them to fill out, putting down the 3 questions that they want me to ask during the interview, and actually committing to be at that time. So with that alone, I consider it special because I've had a lot of people, and Jimmylee and Gabe, I know you guys definitely have come across. What do you mean you can't make it? What do you mean? What happened with that cancellation? So, and especially when it comes to free promotion, I'm thinking at the end of the day, but my queen told me, like, hey, listen, if folks don't want to be on the show, they don't want to be on the show. They're missing out. So that honestly separates the ones who have that special talent compared to those who don't. So, but yeah, I think the special talent is just staying committed and staying consistent and driving to get their name out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a famous author, motivational speaker, used to be a pastor, John C. Maxwell, and he had a book titled, and I always revert back to it every once in a while, titled "Talent's Never Enough." And we all have gone to, grew up with kids who are 10 times more talented than us in specific things, but don't necessarily do anything with it.
I got a few right now.
Yeah. But then you have, I would consider myself, when it came to athletic ability, average, grades, average, maybe above average on both of those things, but nothing like spectacular. But then it's just the drive, like you said, it's just day in and day out, persistent and consistent every single day. And all of a sudden, results start compounding, and it looks like you're miles away. You're really not, but it feels that because you stay dedicated to a specific goal or whatever it was. So if you're out there listening, every single one of us are special in our own way, but don't feel like you have to have some wild, talent of X, Y, and Z just to make it. You can make it. It's just you put your mind to it, and day in and day out, like I say. So in your experience, how would you define success?
The key two words that come to mind in defining success is being consistent and persistent.
Absolutely.
With that, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what mistakes that you're making, and people get so frustrated because what they're doing is that they're saying like, oh, well, there's this person who's making $1 million, or Grant Cardone, he's got a $300 million in real estate. I'll never get up to that. And it's like,
I just got a Grant Cardone real estate book in today.
Man,
I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh,
that is
my
a
gosh.
fact.
Which book did you get?
It's literally titled How to Invest in Real Estate. It's like the most basic thing. I will literally text my wife in the meantime, tell her to send me a picture if there's a book that just came in today, guaranteed.
Oh, man.
And then I'll get the title for you.
And then, folks, if you're listening, if you go to thriftbooks.com,
That's right,
and you find these books on here for motivation, and you just spend 5 minutes per day, that counts as you're being persistent and consistent. So people think that, I need to spend 2 to 3 hours on this topic, or I need to spend an additional 4 hours in regards to making sure this works, or I'm not going to have time because of my kids, my family, blah, 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 blah. And it's like the world, the universe is not asking for that. The universe, for what you want to do in your life, is merely asking for 5 minutes a day. Because nobody, and a friend of mine told me this, if you go to the gym and just do one push-up, you're not going to just do one push-up.
Right.
But you need to get started in doing something. So a lot of people think that it's like, no, when I go to the gym, I need to get a full 2-hour workout in. I need to get this done. I need to get on the treadmill, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, just 5 minutes. Just do that one push-up. See what happens after that one push-up. See what happens after you read that Grant Cardone book for 5 minutes, and doing that daily. After 21 days, it becomes a habit. So by the time you hit 90 days, you're golden,
I love it. There's The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Is an old school, literally when I say old school, I mean old school. It's very old.
We're talking black and white, folks.
Yeah.
But it's free if you go on YouTube.
It's free. Just go on YouTube and you get to hear this man's voice, who sounds like a lion or something. If a lion had a voice, it could speak English.
Him.
That's literally what it would sound like. He has the craziest, deepest voice. It's so funny. But anyway, just really quick, I don't want to reiterate what he said because I want to give everyone an opportunity to, be blessed with his knowledge, let's just say. One of the things was, he's like, I bet you if you go anywhere in the world right now and ask, random 20 people or 20 men, why do they go to work? They won't have the answer
at all.
And when he means they don't have the answer, they don't have the real answer. They just think, oh, well, everyone else is doing it, so I'm going to work. I just got to go to work.
Yeah.
And once you find something outside of that, somebody said it a couple weeks ago. It was so simple. There is no way God put us here on this earth to just go to a 9-to-5 job and pay bills. Guys, let me say that again. You are here for more. There is no way in the world you are placed here in this precious, beautiful Mother Earth of ours, right?
Yeah.
There's no way you're here to just get a 9-to-5 job and pay bills. Let that sit on your brain and understand that you're here for more. Figure that out. Take your time. Talk to people. Find a mentor. It's not rushing and finding it and then going. You don't have to be a maniac about it. One day at a time. And as Daniel was saying, the 5 minutes of reading, that's it right there. I didn't technically ever have a real mentor my entire life outside of looking up to my parents. And then I looked up to a couple uncles, and then I looked up to a bunch of businessmen that I had zero relationship with, though. You know what I'm saying? And little by little, you can find. I do recommend having a mentor, but you have to start somewhere. Right. And kind of like you said, with the social media, era that we're in, the comparing game can kill dreams, because someone will get started. And like you said, I know a couple people who have YouTube channels and they've been at it for a year or two and just not seeing much movement. And then they start comparing. Well, this guy just started one 6 months ago, and he has 100,000 followers. I'm like, yeah, well, he had a video on there that accidentally went viral. You know what I'm saying? And the right person shared it. I'm like, that can happen to any of your videos overnight, literally.
And something simple. Have you tried cats? You gotta throw it, and that's the other thing too. People don't do the research on Jimmylee and Gabe. I mean, there's so much stuff out there on YouTube. There's so much stuff out on social media. It's like, hey, if you're not getting hits in real estate, if you're not getting hits on credit, if you're not getting hits on your YouTube channel, there's stuff that you can Google or check out that shows you what you need to get done. They have it down to the simplest things of tags. I mean, I consider myself somewhat of a dinosaur because there's certain videos I go on and they're like from 2010, 2011. I'm like, so all right, maybe this has been around for a while, but the opportunity is there. So, and to add back onto your point about the 9-to-5, nobody becomes a millionaire working a 9-to-5. Right. So if that's your goal right now, to be a millionaire through whatever passion, focus that you have in life, please don't think that your 9-to-5 job is going to get you there.
And I'm glad that was brought up with you can learn anything, because especially using YouTube or whatever, traveling anywhere I travel, I don't listen. Maybe around nighttime if I'm traveling home, something like that, and I want to wind down, I'm listening to music. But when it comes to the morning, getting ready in the morning, I have something low, very low, because half the people in my house are still, all the people at my house are still sleeping, so it's very low. I typically have in my back pocket or by the bathroom sink or something. It's something motivational, inspiring, or like a preacher preaching or something like that, but it's starting to get my mind ready for the day. While I drive in, I'm learning something, whether it's real estate, whether it's investing in stocks, what have you, or it could just be another mindset thing, or a biography, which you can learn a lot about through people's lives, other people's lives. I'm getting ready and I'm listening to something, and I'm driving into work and I'm listening to something. I'm not even separating a whole other time. You got to understand, that's the same time you sat there groaning, brushing your teeth, groaning, brushing your hair, groaning, putting your tie on, groaning, driving into work with the headache and blasting music and more junk talk radio, when the whole time I'm enriching my brain, right? And then when someone is miles ahead of you, then you compare yourself to them, and all of a sudden you're mad. And now you give up. Right? But you got to understand that it's those little baby step thing. And I'm using me as an example, but not as me as in Jimmylee. I'm saying me as a human. If I did all those things and then you didn't do all those things, but then you're comparing their best to your worst, of course you're frustrated.
Yeah.
Of course you're frustrated. You got to put the work in. You got to get the work. You got to put that work in. This isn't, it's not going to just come flying to you. But talk a little bit about, because a lot of that push comes from motivation and inspiration. And I define, inspiration is the pull. Like, inspiration pulls you in. So my kids, they inspire me. That's a natural pull. I'm going to do it for them no matter what. I'm inspired from my family, from my wife. Motivation is the push. It's going to push me, right? Now, I'm listening to something super hype, whether it's music or some motivational talk. I'm hyped. That's pushing me. But it's moment. It's for a moment. Whether that moment could be a whole hour or it could be 10 minutes. The motivation is temporary. Where inspiration can last a whole life. I can be inspired by someone or inspired by my kids my entire life, right? With motivation, just like deodorant and taking a shower, you need it every day, okay?
I don't recommend it, but you need it every day.
Because why? Because it wears off.
Yep.
And that's the importance. People, find something that inspires you. It could be your wife. It could be your best friend. It could be your kids. It could be anything. It could be artwork, or whatever it is. That's your inspiration. Now find something that's going to motivate you every single day to keep that gas going. What's your motivation?
My motivation is honestly my son, my queen, and my mom, and honestly my last name.
Yeah.
Nothing special with Umstead. It's just Umstead. But I look at it as this. And Grant Cardone, funny we're bringing him back up again, but Grant Cardone actually put it down in one of his interviews. He's like, I want to see what the world is. I have that book. He just showed me the book, and I have that book.
I told you. I just got this book in today.
I had my son read it over the summer because, with school and education and,
It was a program of his though that I purchased, and it was like this was a free book. I didn't buy the program for this book. It came with this book, and it came literally today. How to Create Wealth Investing in Real Estate. Grant Cardone. I told you that's from my wife. Right there, you can see.
You got to hit me up once you get to the end of the book. When you get to the end, let me know what you read, man.
Okay.
All right.
Absolutely.
And that's for everybody. When you get to the end of Grant Cardone's books, you got to read it because there is. You talk about gaining that next step in wealth. It's right there. Yeah. Right there on that last page. And they're like, wait, that's it? And it's like, yeah, that's it. That's it. You want to get to the next level? Read that last page.
I love it.
So, but
starting backwards tonight.
Chapter 1, forget that. No, but yeah, with that motivation, like I said, my queen, my son, and my mom, and my last name, and that was my why. I needed, and that honestly took me a while to get to because I was trying to figure out, well, what's going to be my why? Because everybody says, well, what's your why? I was like, I don't know my why, but when you have it in front of you, and your why is going to change. Sometimes you hate your kids, sometimes your girl's getting on your nerves. Sometimes your mom is your mom. But at the end of the day, once you find that why, once you keep that motivation going and that inspiration going, it'll help you. But that goes back to those two key things, being persistent and being consistent with it. There's going to be those bad days. There's going to be those frustrating days where it's like, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like putting on Spotify. I don't feel like reading Grant Cardone today. I don't feel like listening to a podcast about how I could become richer the next day. Those things are going to come up. But if you take the time and just do 5 minutes, you'll be A-okay.
I love that. And so on the other token, inspiration. So it says here, you're inspired by many social media influencers such as Damon John, Michael Blank, and Dan Locke. How so? And what can you share that has helped you most?
Sure. So
that was like a basic radio question right there. How so? Explain, elaborate.
Could you discuss a little bit?
Totally read that off the paper.
Please speak into the microphone, please. No, with all three of them, honestly, and these are for the folks that feel that they can't find a mentor. Those three are my mentors. And you have to look at it this way. You might have people in your life right now that you're trying to get in contact with, you can't get in contact with, whether it's an ex, whether it's a good friend of yours, for whatever reason, you just can't get in contact with them. But I can guarantee you this, if you were to reach out to Damon John and follow his social media, Dan Locke or even Michael Blanc, you'll be inspired and you'll get something out of it. And lo and behold, somebody like Michael Blanc, we're actually connected on LinkedIn. So if I needed to reach out to this guy, now this guy runs multi-family commercials. He also has his own podcast. I might get a delay in response, but for the fact that I have that immediate connection where if I wanted to, at this moment right now, to be able to send him a message and I know it's going directly to him because we're connected, that makes me feel good inside compared to maybe going to a mentor or a quote-unquote purchasing a mentor. So those three in my life I look at and follow to help me and grow and it's not so much about beating other people. I just want to be able to sit down and have lunch and buy the man lunch.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Hey man, listen, I just supported one of my friends growing up, started a business called Tail Up Now. and I ordered one of his headbands. Apparently, it's supposed to like absorb, sweat and stuff like that. So in support, I ordered a headband, and on the headband it says "You versus You," and I thought that it was very appropriate, especially if you're working out doing that.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you're saying is, a lot of times people go back to that compare game, and when you just zone in on yourself and love on other people, and just zone in and love yourself too. So that, man, listen, there was a period of time where I was mad at myself. I couldn't even explain really why, and what it broke down to was I had expectations that would have never been met in the time frame I expected them to be, and it just led to frustration. So I was mad at myself. What did I do wrong? How could I have done better? I didn't make the right connections. And here I look back at what my goals were, and it was like, create X amount of wealth in like a day. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it was not going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? Even if you hit the lottery, the check wasn't going to arrive that night.
Listen, tell that to my girlfriend. I tell her all the time, I'm like, babe, this is the house we're going to get. Oh, so we're moving in next week? No, babe. I just want to show you where we're going to in the near future. No, we can go in there next week. We'll move in there next week. I believe it. I have faith. We're going to do it. I'm like, all right.
I like that. That's hilarious. And listen, dream building's a part of it, right?
Absolutely.
Dream building is goal setting. It is putting it out there, but it's in the actual form. It's there. I remember, days I would go jogging around, sections of the houses where we wanted to live at. Without even realizing, I ended up being in the houses that I was jogging around. It's like,
awesome.
You're like, wow, I manifested this. And I knew I was doing it, and I was doing it with purpose. But after a while, you kind of forget because, you're caught up in life. And I was caught up in life in a good way, like really stacking up, getting multiple jobs, we're getting married, buying a house, paying off debt, all at the same time, right? And so you get lost in the sauce, so to speak, in a good way, though. And all of a sudden, it was like, bang, you just paid off that student loan. Bang, you just put an offer on this house. Bang, you just got married. Boom, you just went to a beautiful island for your honeymoon, and it was like on a 6-month time frame, right?
Beautiful,
and if you go back, that was going back three years, of work. You know what I'm saying? Of just working at one goal, working at the specific goal. And then when it manifested, it was like, it felt so good to walk into that. Right. Walk into that blessing, obviously with God's help, but you created it. It was what you wanted.
Right. Free will, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Free will.
And it's all possible.
Yep.
Right. But anyway, so keep talking about the mentorship, right? Sure. Because I didn't have, like I had mentioned before, a direct line, so to speak. Obviously, I talked to my father and we asked specific things, but there was guys, I wanted to do different things with my life, and so it was like that was limited in the conversation. And so he's like, you got to figure it out, you got to read books, and he guided me the best way he could. But when I started reading books, I realized I got to start now connecting with it. We live in a different era, as you mentioned about LinkedIn. You do have whether that access is very huge or small. The fact is that you have access, right? And that's what social media has given us. And the beauty in that is that you can find people like a Daniel Locke, right? Dan Locke, that's right.
And it's funny you should mention him because Dan Pena, the billionaire man, I'm connected with him on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And when I got his message, because I connected with him on LinkedIn, crazy story, I connected with him on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Dan Pena. I was like, nah. You know what? This guy is worth $1 billion. He's got these mastermind meetings where you got to pay like $20,000 to go to.
Literally
like,
20,000.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way that this is him. So I reached out just on a whim. I was like, hey, Dan, just following you and really inspired by you. This man sent me this long paragraph text. And he was like, listen, this is your one-time shot. Go do what you need to do. You follow me enough that you know where you need to be at in life. I don't even care if the thing was copy and pasted. For the fact that in my inbox, I got a Dan Pena message waiting for me to review. I'm like, all right. So, and he had actually put down on there saying that, this is, Dan Pena. I don't have staff or anything like that reading my comments. I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know. But please don't abuse this privilege. I was like, shoot, I just want to have lunch with you, man. That's it. Yeah. So, but with the mentorship, people will always find an excuse. Yeah. You know that people always find an excuse, whether they can't come to the Rotated Views podcast for whatever reason, whether they can't for whatever reason tag you or forget to tag you after they purchase an item, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But it really goes down to that, hey, there's always going to be a solution for your excuse. So if you don't have a mentor, okay, find somebody online that you really like and start following them. There was a gentleman, Sterling White, was following Grant Cardone. And I bring up Grant Cardone. I'm surprised he's not listed as one of the mentors, but I bring up Grant Cardone because he interviewed him. He interviewed him on his show, and all he did was he reached out to him. He did a couple of real estate deals, and he's like, hey, we'd love to have you on my show to talk further. They did an hour-long session, and pretty much the most time Grant was pretty much bragging about what he does, but and saying is like, yeah, you probably couldn't even believe that you got me here with you, right, Sterling? And it's like, wow, this is going in a different direction. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Sterling White, a gentleman who is human just like the rest of us, pumping blood just like the rest of us, ordinary man, he just took that drive and took that extra step. So if you got an excuse in your life, why don't you Google your excuse? I can't find a mentor. What do I do? Where can I find a mentor at?
That's great.
Find somebody. There's no reason why you cannot be at six figures by this time next year. If you're listening to this podcast, 2021, if you're not at $1 million, if you're not at $1 million or at least six figures by this time next year from what we just talked about, then, hey, Google your excuse so you can find your solution.
That is fantastic. Wow. Say it one more time.
Google your excuse so you can find your solution.
Oh, my gosh.
I might put up that post later on today.
I'm 1,000% stealing that.
Who? Never met Dan in my life.
All right, so let's change gears.
Sure.
So one of the things that you really do well is resume writing.
Yes.
So explain a little bit about what that process is for you. How in the world did you get started in that, and how do you help people?
Sure. Fun story. You're going to love this.
All right.
2007, 2008, I was working at a nonprofit. A gentleman I was working with, and this is, I'm not knocking anybody with a college degree, but if you have it, that's great. It needs to be something personal for you and you alone. That's my disclaimer. So me and this guy, we both went to Penn State together. He didn't quite finish at Penn State, but he was finishing up his degree. Now, he had some experience, but I had my degree.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm boasting in here at this nonprofit, and he was, mind you, this was back in 2007, 2008, and he was saying, he was like, yo, man, the VA is hiring, Department of Veteran Affairs, like they're starting at like 60,000. Could you help me out with the resume? I heard you do really good stuff. And I was like, I mean, I do okay, but I'm fine. And he's like, well, can you tweak it for me? Sure. I was like, hey, if they're hiring, what are the requirements? Like, I'm making $35K now, so a $25K increase would be amazing for a single man in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, sure, just go online and you could apply. All right, I put it in. So my resume is good, because I had my degree on there.
Yeah.
Of course, I made his resume look like Superman and Batman came together and wrote it. At a Super Friends meeting. And sure enough, within a week, he got the job. And he's been there ever since.
Wow.
So since then, I put in the work to it of creating resumes, helping people out with resumes. I honestly never started charging people until a couple years ago, but I've been doing it for over 10 years because I just got a joy out of somebody just saying like, wow, you do marvelous work. Like I was literally feeling like Picasso, just painting paintings, giving it to them, and then they're showing an applause. Like I can't tell you countless stories that I've had that people said, I didn't even need to do an interview, Daniel. They just hired me off the resume. I was like,
Wow.
So putting a price on that, there was no way possible. And then my queen came in my life. She was like, no, you need to start charging people. And this is where your trade building comes into play.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, for that, if somebody, and my process is simple with the resume writing. You know, if you got a question, you got an issue, I don't charge everybody.
Yes.
Some people just need to change some things. Some people just need to edit, add some bullet points, and call it a day, and that's that. I recruit for, I could definitely mention those companies. I recruit for Bank of America, CVS, United Healthcare Group, a bunch of others for my day job. So I definitely know what these top companies are looking for. And sorry to say, they're really not looking for a whole lot. They just need a decent formatted resume and somebody who's enthusiastic and can put on a smile during these interviews. So that's the secret, folks, about getting a job.
So if someone wanted to reach out for you for your services, particularly for the resume, how can they reach you for that?
Sure.
Is it still the same number?
Same number, 267-702-3756. If you want to call, they can text me as well. I'd be more than happy to assist, but like I said, I'm not going to charge everybody. Some things may need to be a couple of tweaks and call it a day, and then just let me know of your success. I will ask for a recommendation. If I don't charge you, or if I do charge you, I will ask for a recommendation on the page, but that's it.
That's awesome. So explain the importance. We weren't even going to go on this topic, but you mentioned it, and I talk to a lot of people day in and day out about how you carry yourself professionally, and the importance of that. And so one of the things I love to talk about is enthusiasm. And you mentioned it being enthusiastic during an interview, but forget the interview for a second. Explain why, almost like the psychology behind it. Why is it being enthusiastic is important?
It will get you to places you have never even thought of. I'm going to bring up somebody's name, and everybody's going to hate me for it, but Trump is worth $3.6 billion because he was enthusiastic in every single real estate transaction deal. He made $85 million off of a hotel that he should have never even been inside of. Not even so much his name, not even so much his background, but for the fact that he was enthusiastic and communicative as well towards every single person and partner in that relationship, which brought him in $85 million. And that's off of one transaction. So if I know it's like, oh, I'm not really moving, but at the end of the day, you need to be enthusiastic about what you do, because the same energy that you bring off or put off to people, it's going to come back to you. So if you're enthusiastic, guess what? People are going to be enthusiastic about what you have. But if you just say, like if your guy came to you and said, yeah, I got these headbands that, you versus you, and if you run a lot and you sweat, it'll take it off of you. But if he's coming at you like, yo, Jimmylee, Gabe, I got these great headbands, you versus you, they're going to give you that extra superpower that you need, so that as soon as you get into the gym, you're feeling like a super friend. You're feeling like Batman, Wonder Woman going in there. I honestly just did a mile on the treadmill for 10 minutes straight. I've never done it before, but as soon as I put on this headband, you versus you made me what I am. So there's a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
big difference.
Big difference. Big difference.
That's what they sometimes call it a slight edge, but that's a massive edge.
It's a massive,
because
and people downplay it too many times.
100%. Listen, I interview people myself, and I will tell you when a personality can totally change, the situation.
It could probably change the length time of your interview as well. It's happened to me.
Absolutely.
Like, all right, so we're done here. Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you have to be enthusiastic about it, right? I mean, a quick plug. You guys came in. Teresa asked about the hat, and boom, I went in. There was no here's the website, here's my email address, here's my business card. Yeah. It's no boom, you jump to action. I wasn't going to bring that stuff in. I ran to the truck, brought the stuff in, explained it. This is the highest quality hoodie. But boom, when I start going into it, I didn't say it's kind of, I already started comparing it to my competitors. When you wash it once, it's going to shrink on their end. On my end, it's going to be, and I just keep going, right? And it's totally different where if I would have just check it out. BL3SSED.com. Thanks. I appreciate the support.
Really so much.
gave you a back end story. Told you that my dad had pancreatic cancer and passed away from it. This is why we have purple. Gave you everything, right, in such a quick, short amount of time. Now, obviously, we've mastered that because we've been doing it for several years now. But it's funny that you said it because I'm doing it now, not even realizing I'm doing that. It's because I'm truly passionate about. So when you say enthusiastic, passionate, have some level of excitement about life. I mean,
or just your passion. It has to be your passion, If you were selling T-shirts for somebody else, because I've had people on my show, and I could definitely tell you, if you were to go back and look at the people who are selling clothing items, you could see the ones who really, really love what they're doing compared to the ones who are like, oh, this will pay you definitely for rent this week. All right, cool, that's fine. Wouldn't you just want to buy a building with the money that you're making? So, and that's the other thing too. I'm sorry and I'm frustrated about it, but I hate when people limit themselves. Yeah. People think that it's like, oh, well, if I just make $1,000, I'll be okay. Or if I just make $5,000 throughout the whole year, I'll be fine because this is what my friends told me. No, hustle your behind off and make $5,000 in the next hour. It's possible that you could do that, and the whole thing behind it is being enthusiastic. People, one great mentor that folks can follow all the time, and you could probably get in touch with him in the next couple of weeks, no matter how big he is Gary Vee. This man is enthusiastic with every single thing that he does when it comes to motivational speak, when it comes to putting up his snippets and everything like that, and it just drives people more and more and more. He's not selling anything. I've actually seen him be more excited about his motivation in helping people than he is about his wine. I completely forgot that he's got a wine business or wine company. Yeah. But for the fact of him helping people, ecstatic 24/7. So
I love that. Yeah, man, find something that sparks up and sparks up something in your soul. Yeah. Well, listen, I do believe that you have to find something, figure out what the passion is, and then figure out how you can turn it into income if that's what you want. Sure. Because sometimes people are just chasing the money first, and then you're gonna get burnt out doing that. And then you're gonna destroy something you loved, right? Because of money. You know what I'm saying? So there's a tricky balance there. All right, so let's talk real estate. What is your basic advice, right? Because there's a lot of people who know that they probably should, put some pennies away or read a couple books to invest in the future or maybe right now into real estate. Again, they just don't know where to start. What's your recommendation? Because there's a lot of places you can start, but what's your recommendation?
I'm going to give everybody a free action plan right now that's going to take 2 minutes, and they could do it on their own. You're going to go to Zillow, Realtor, Redfin. Find a listing that has been on the market or expired or has been on the market for maybe more than 6 months. You are going to skip trace. But Dan, how do I skip trace? You're going to go to REIskip.com. You're going to register an account. You're going to go for the lowest plan possible, which I think is 25 cents per lead. So, folks, you just spent 5 minutes on Zillow looking at properties, and it's basic stuff. You just do Philadelphia, PA, wherever you're at, Bristol, PA, and you literally search for homes that have been on the market for 6 months or more. Once you do that, and you skip trace by going to REIskip.com, phone numbers are going to come up. Now, there's plenty of opportunities out here. You can do batch leads, where you could text folks. You could go on slide broadcasts, where you could drop voicemails. 1, 2, 3 approach. First step, Zillow. Second step, skip trace. Third step, you call them and you say, hi, I don't care. This is where you got to lie, folks. This is where you got to lie. Because technically you are a buyer. But this is where you got to lie and say, hi, I'm an investor looking to invest in the Philadelphia market or wherever market it is, and I am interested in purchasing your home for cash. And they say whatever they need to say, or they say that they're not interested. They say they're not interested. Guess what? You just took your first step into doing real estate. Now, if they're interested and they say, yes, I'm interested in doing a cash offer, you wait for them to say how much. And as soon as they say how much that they're looking to sell for, you tell them, I will get back to you within 24 hours with some numbers and results. If you put up a post on Facebook, social media that says, hey, I got somebody who's interested in looking to sell their house for this amount, I need help, people will flood you. Yeah. People will reach out to you. I put up a post the other day, and I stole it. I got an email about this $1.2 million complex out in Northeast Philadelphia. And
if you just saw the blank face that he gave after he said he stole it, it's just hysterical.
And but yeah, I stole it. You know, the woman that emailed me and said, you know, please do not share this information without my permission. I'm like, you said don't share the address. You didn't say nothing about the other info. So I pretty much put out there
technicality.
I pretty much put out there 1.2 million, 12 unit complex. The net operating income was $86K, serious inquiries only. And I put it up in 3 different places, a couple of Facebook groups for real estate, and I put it on my page. I got about 12 to 15 people who are interested. But the biggest thing that I got out of that was 3 connections with 3 buyers who said that, hey, if you got anything else like this, feel free to reach out to me directly. Oh, great, because that was my whole purpose.
Wow.
That was my whole purpose. So, folks, because people will say like, oh, you need to get a buyer's list first. Oh, no, you need to get the deal first. No, this is what you need to do. You need to go to Zillow first, skip trace, and call people. You know, now, if you want to text, you could text. I'm old school. As people heard, graduated in 05. Don't want to say when I graduated high school. You know, I was around with the Y2K scare, Futurama, and all that jazz. So, but no, folks, you know, you gotta take action steps. Stop reading books on it. You know,
Yeah.
read books after you meet with Damon John. Read books after you meet with some of these real estate gurus. Read books after you landed your first deal. You got, and I say this because there's 18 and 19-year-olds out here making 6 figures doing the same exact thing that I just said. And the other thing about it is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in a market, let's say you're out in Intercourse, Pennsylvania, because folks know that there is a thing called Intercourse, Pennsylvania, for those near Lancaster. But if you need to research something,
lots of babies there.
If you need to research, you know, other places, you could do this in Memphis, Tennessee. You could do this in Phoenix, Arizona. You could do this in Los Angeles, California. All you're doing is calling and making that connection with people.
So how do you become the middleman, though, outside of making a call? How do you become part of that transaction, I guess is my question.
Well, once you become part of the transaction, here's the thing with the tips. With the tips, definitely feel free to reach out to me. If folks are listening and they want me to be the first point of contact and saying like, hey, Dan, well, what do I do now?
It's like, I charge for this question.
No. Because I want to point people in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, I had a gentleman who reached out to me and he's like, hey, Dan, I got somebody who's looking to buy a house. They got pre-approved, but I wanted to see how the referral deals work. And I was like, listen, I just got to pay my rent. You can have everything else, you know, and it was 6% on a $150K house. So I'm like, if people want to do the math and it's like, wait, you only want 1,000 from that? Yeah, I might get the full check, but I just need 1,000, folks. Because here's the thing. I want you to keep coming back again and again and again and again. Because my whole philosophy, making a million millionaires, and I say it on my show, is that the whole scheme behind it is that if I have a million millionaires and we're doing a deal that I only want 1% of, that's 10,000 times a million. It's close to that trillion range. So that's all I'm looking for, folks.
Yeah.
So, but in the meanwhile, you know, I want you to make money because the source comes back to me. It's like, oh, Dan helped me make 6 figures. Or Dan helped me make $1 million. So that's why I want folks to get in contact with me. 267-702-3756. Call or text. But yeah, because there's going to be there's so many added steps, and that's why folks need to read, because it's like, well, you need to clear the title. You need to make sure that there's no liens on it. But people get so caught up and hung up with that they're like, well, I don't know what to do, or I did that. I did that for 2 months. I was sitting on deals or not reaching out to folks because I was like, well, what if I get hit with a tax lien? Well, what if I gotta pay for the clear title? Worry about that when the time comes. Yeah. But right now, it's just those 3 steps. Go on Zillow, check out some old listings, skip trace, that property. And here's a bonus to it as well. If they're not interested, hey, do you have anybody else that's willing to sell their house for cash right now? We do offer a referral service. Yeah, sure. And then you just work it out.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. Hey, there's something huge about when you become when you're teaching is there's a skill in complex things simple, like simplifying complex things. But, and obviously if anyone wants to reach out to Daniel, you can obviously tell he can break things down into much bite-sized, items instead of getting overwhelmed and looking at the big picture in that sense. All right. So wrapping things down, closing it out here, explain how you're currently marketing the Robert Nathaniel group.
Sure. So right now that's pretty much strictly through the show. Because I have so much going on with the many hats that I wear, my main goal is to get guests on the show. So if folks, first and foremost, you need to get on Rotated Views podcast first.
Yes.
So if you can interview with me, you can interview with Rotated Views podcast first. So do that first.
Yes.
And then after you do it, like my man Trey L. Hall of Oil Money to the Moon, then definitely feel free to reach out to me. But I found it by growing myself, I needed to grow others. Yeah. So that's honestly what it came down to, and that's the reason why I have 100+ people that have interviewed on the radio show right now, because my main goal is to help others. The moment that folks become a success, then I become a success.
I love it. All right, and last question I love to ask our guests is, how do you manage work-life balance, right?
What?
No. Or should I ask Teresa to answer?
Listen, this bitch. Before she came into my life, I was up to like 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. Working on stuff, thinking that I needed to do every single thing. But my queen came in my life, and she honestly said, give yourself time. So, and again, I learned this from Grant Cardone. This man goes to bed at 10 o'clock every night. And I was like, there's no way this man goes to bed at 10 o'clock every night. But what he does is he goes to bed at 10 o'clock, but he gets up at 6 a.m. Yeah. So I think right now, create your schedule. And I had to tell myself this. You have to create a work schedule that's going to work for you and treat it like a brand new job. Folks think that it's like, well, I don't have enough time in the day. Well, where do you not have enough time in the day? Well, what are you doing at 6 a.m.? Well, I'm asleep. Well, why can't you get up? Well, I got things to do, and I'm going to lose so much sleep. So you can't sacrifice a year or maybe 6 months working on your goal by waking up early and getting what you need to get done and then moving forward throughout your day. So I think folks need to do that first. So how I do it is I schedule myself. Now, I'm human. So do I wake up every single day at 7 a.m. with a smile on my face and greet my queen and say, hi, honey, I'm off to start my day. Spotify, please open to the next wealth money making podcast. No, not at all. Of course. I wake up, groaning, grunting with the toothbrush. And then, a couple hours later in the day, and it's like, all right, I need to get motivated. But the balance comes by remembering why you're there. Yeah. And remembering where you want to be at in the next year. Because once you do that, then everything will flow. And just be prepared. Be prepared. I've asked God, I've talked to God, in regards to when it comes to making myself wealthy. And in addition, even leaving my full-time job next year. And God doesn't play around. You ask for something, he's going to hit you right in the face. Oh, you trying to leave? Because I tell you, watch this. He'll give you leads. He'll give you all the tools that you need. And please stop looking at that dollar bill as that life savings that needs to go. If you got money in your pocket right now, you might as well have matches in your pocket, because all it's doing is just burning sitting there. So if your money is not being put to use, if your time is not being put to use, then, you stop. So finding that work-life balance, make sure that your family is first. Now, if you got a good family, make sure they're first. If you don't have a good family, then you need to come first, But, ultimately God first, and then yourself, and then, of course, your family and others. But, with that work-life balance, just put yourself first and making sure that at the end of the day that you've accomplished that one thing that's getting you closer to the next day.
Bam. Daniel, Thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We like to close things out with quotes, and the first one is by Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. Second one by Pablo Picasso. Only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone. Ouch. The Robert Nathaniel group. In this episode, the crew welcomes special guest Daniel Umstead. We cover topics that range from radio shows, credit repair, real estate, resume writing, motivation, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Walt Disney and Pablo Picasso. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.